Hey there, everypony! I'm Fauna Joy. It's time once again for me to don my reviewer hat as I take a look at the first episode in the series to focus on one particular character in the main cast. Let's take a look at Applebuck season. Yeah, I'm not going to do the southern thing the whole time. The show opens on Applejack and Big Macintosh looking out over their orchard. Applejack remarks that it's the biggest crop of apples she's seen in her life, followed by Big Mac saying it's too big for Applejack alone. He has a bandage around his chest, implying he's injured in some way. Not bad enough that he's bedridden, but bad enough that he can't help with the harvest. Also, it's a little tender.
Sorry.
When Big Mac reiterates that he doesn't think she can handle the whole crop on her own, Applejack gets indignant and literally gets up in his face about the subject.
This is your sister Applejack, remember? The loyalest of friends and the most dependable of ponies?
But still only one pony. And one pony plus hundreds of apple trees just doesn't add up to...
Don't you use your fancy mathematics to muddy the issue. I said I could handle this harvest, and I'm gonna prove it to you. I'm gonna get every last apple out of those trees this Applebuck season all by myself.
I immediately regret this decision.
After the theme song, Applejack is getting ready to start when something else starts shaking apples from the trees.
Stampede!
The pony villains start running about randomly, with the exception of Pinkie Pie. And the mayor.
Every pony calm down. There is no need to panic. But Mayor, whatever shall we do? Look there!
However, the only currently useful citizen of the town has everything well in hoof.
Come on, little doggies. Arm! Winona, put 'em up. Ha-ha! Gotcha!
The cows stop, and it turns out they are easily as sentient as the ponies.
Now, what was that all about? Oh, my. Begging your pardon, Applejack, but Muriella here saw one of those nasty snakes. And it just gave us all the willies, don't you know? I completely understand. Just next time, try and steer clear of Ponyville.
Was that a race joke? I mean, it's a fairly harmless one, but still. With the cows headed off to their home, Applejack does a heroic pose, and the rest of the ponies decide to throw her a party to celebrate saving the town.
We must do something to thank Applejack for single-hoofedly saving the town.
I know. A party!
However, when it comes time for the party, Applejack isn't anywhere to be seen and hasn't been seen for days. Apparently they just shrug it off, figuring she'll be on time and decide to start the celebration without being sure she's even there.
Welcome, every pony. Today we are here to honor a pony we can always count on to help in matters great and small. A pony whose contributions to...
Did you see Applejack's slick moves out there? What an athlete! This week, she's gonna help me with my new flying trick, and I know it's gonna be so awesome! And this week, I get to run Sugar Cube Corner for the first time!
What does that have to do with Applejack?
Oh, Applejack, one of the best bakers ever, is gonna help me! Applejack makes everything great, so free samples for every pony!
Okay, that's great. Now, if I could just make a point without being
Twilight?
interrupted.
Twilight, I'm so sorry, but I just wanted to mention that Applejack is also helping me this week with the official bunny census, where we count up all the new baby bunnies that were born this season. She's gonna help gather them using her wonderful herding skills.
Anyone else? Anyone? No? Well then, as I was trying to say...
Ugh, never mind.
That was rude.
You know, considering how fast Twilight seemed to be flipping through those note cards, I doubt her speech was really that long. Mayor really could have just let her finish and not lose much time. But if she had done that, we wouldn't have this blunder.
And so, with no further ado, it is my privilege to give the prize Pony of Ponyville Award to our beloved guest of honor, a pony of the utmost trustworthiness, reliability, and integrity, Ponyville's most capable and dependable friend, Applejack!
Oh, way to go, Applejack! That was awesome!
Awkward.
Seriously? No pony checked to see if she was even there? What was Mayor doing while Twilight was trying to give her speech? Just standing to one side, awkwardly smiling and inching her way forward? Whose job was it to coordinate everything anyway? Some pony had to pull those curtains back. Why didn't they just pull some pony important aside and whisper, "Oh, by the way, our guest of honor hasn't shown up yet"? Ugh, moving on. To sum up, the whole thing is a big bucket of awkward, and Applejack drags her award off.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Was it just me, or did Applejack seem a little...
Tired?
Dizzy?
Messy? Well, did you see her mane?
She seemed fine to me. Woo!
I wonder. Oh well.
Twilight seems to be the only one who gives a horse apple in this episode. She heads over to Sweet Apple Acres to witness Applejack sleepwalking and decides to give her a wake-up call.
Applejack! Applejack!
Oh! Howdy, Twilight.
What is all this?
It's Applebuck season. Whoa!
Apple what season?
As well as watching the progression of magical auras, I enjoy watching the progression of Twilight's magical abilities in general. The first time she teleported, it was implied to be pretty painful. Now she's teleporting a little easier, but it still takes a moment to power up her magic in order to do so. Compare that to later on, and she teleports as easily as thinking. Twilight questions why she's doing this alone, and actually asks a very good question about those dozens of relatives we were introduced to in the pilot.
What about all those relatives I met when I first came to Ponyville? Can't they help?
They were just here for the Apple family reunion. They actually live all over Equestria and are busy harvesting their own orchards. So, how about my own? Which means I should really get back to work.
Twilight offers to help, but again, Applejack gets indignant.
Help?
No way, no how.
But there's no way you can do it all on your own.
Is that a challenge?
That wasn't
Challenge accepted.
An unknown amount of time later, Rainbow is impatiently waiting for AJ, who's late again, having fallen asleep on her hooves. Rainbow then proceeds to explain just what this favor of AJ's involves.
See this contraption? Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna stand on one end, then you're gonna jump down from that platform, launching me into the air faster than I can take off on my own. Once I'm in the air, I'm gonna do some amazing flips and spins that are sure to impress the Wonderbolts.
I have a question. I understand that speed is what Rainbow's aiming for here, but how does that speed factor into spins and flips? From what I understand of physics and aerodynamics, you actually want to slow down when you go into a spin, turn, or flip. That way you have your body or vehicle under enough control that you have a low probability of spinning out of control, or if you do spin out of control, you're at low enough speeds that you're less likely to do any harm to yourself or spectators and can regain control fast enough that you lessen those chances even further. So really, by using this excess of speed to perform spins and flips, Rainbow is increasing the chance of injury to herself and others. If I'm wrong in this, by all means, correct me. I'm no daredevil when it comes to flying, but I'm always up for learning about the ponies who do these sorts of things. That way I can nitpick correctly when TV shows and movies do something wrong. Applejack climbs the tower, somehow. Seriously, there isn't even a ladder on that thing. And attempts to send Rainbow flying. Emphasis on attempts.
Ready?
clear. You're supposed to land on the other end. Got it. Applejack, what the hey is going on? I mean, I thought I was working with Ponyville's best athlete.
You are. I'm okay. Really. I have an idea. Watch this. Ta-da! Oh. Okay, one more try. I'm sure to get it this time. Here I go.
She finally hits the mark, but Rainbow wasn't ready, so instead of performing amazing flying feats, she lands rather hard on Twilight's balcony.
Can I help you? I think some pony else needs your help. Applejack. Yep.
AJ isn't having any more luck with harvesting, though, as Twilight approaches.
Applejack, can we talk?
Oof, I'm right there with you, AJ. Tinnitus is awful. Count yourself lucky that yours is going to go away. Temporarily deafened somewhat, AJ has a bit of a hard time hearing Twilight's repeat attempt to get her to accept help.
I wasn't feeling quite myself this morning. Because you're working too hard and you need help. What? Kelp? I don't need kelp. I don't even like seaweed. Help! You need help! Nothing doing, Twilight. I'm gonna prove to you, to every pony, that I can do this on my own. Ow! Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta go help Pinkie Pie.
Am I the only one who finds it a little hypocritical of her to go off helping other ponies with these other problems while refusing help herself? Yes? No? Maybe? That's pride for you. The cakes are off for the afternoon, and our recently deafened apple pony isn't exactly a good replacement for them.
Alrighty, I'll get the sugar and the eggs. Can you get me some chocolate chips?
What was that?
Chocolate chips.
Chips. Got it. Tater chips. All salty and dry. Okie dokie. What next?
Baking soda.
Soda. Perfect. That'll get the tater chips nice and wet. Now what?
A cup of flour.
A cup of sour?
Well, lemons are sure sour. 1 cup of sour coming up.
Anything else, Pinkie?
One last thing. Wheat germ.
Wheat worms? Oh, that must be fancy talk for earthworms.
Now that's gonna be delicious.
If you say so.
Hey, man. You know I can hear everything you say, right?
What? Oh, no! I had no idea.
Seriously, I know AJ is one of the best bakers outside Sugar Cube Corner, but Pinkie didn't even glance at the batter before putting it in the tins? Or the oven? They pass out the muffin samples, and the expected result ensues.
We came as soon as we heard.
Thank you, Twilight. We need all the help we can get.
My God, I've never seen such a gruesome shark attack, especially this far inland.
And it's time once again for Twilight to try and talk Upside Down into accepting help.
What? Huh? Oh, it's you, Twilight. I know what you're gonna say, but the answer is still no.
Not to upset your apple cart, but you need help.
Hardy har. And no, I don't.
Here, let me help.
Help? No, thanks.
And we get a bit of dark humor.
Come on, apples, fall off.
AJ, I think you're beating a dead tree.
I knew that.
Really, think about it. Think about the real phrase that she took that from. Kinda dark, isn't it? But don't worry about that because we have bunnies!
Yay! Oh, Applejack, thank you so much for offering your herding skills for the annual rabbit roundup.
AJ is incredibly cranky, and Flutter seems to have everything well in hoof before AJ stomps in.
Okay, little bunnies, I need you to all gather here in the middle.
That's right. Let's go, bunnies. In the center. Hop to it. Swell. Just swell.
In fact, it isn't long before Fluttershy is begging them to stop.
Applejack, Winona, stop! You're scaring them.
We know what we're doing. Get along, little bunnies.
And now I present the most adorable stampede you have ever seen. Twilight then happens upon the next result of AJ's exhaustion, and she has finally had enough.
Must finish harvesting. All right, Applejack. Your apple bucking hasn't just caused you problems. It's overpropelled Pegasus, practically poisoned plenty of ponies, and terrorized bushels of brand new bouncing baby bunnies. I don't care what you say, you need help.
But Applejack declares proudly that she did it.
I harvested the entire sweet apple acres without your help. How'd you like them apples?
Oh, how do you like them apples?
What old apple getting in the bonus
Yeah, I'd do the same. She comes to when Twilight asks one more time for Applejack to take some help, and she finally relents. Then we see the main six harvesting with gusto.
Dear Princess Celestia, my friend Applejack is the best friend a pony could ever have, and she's always there to help any pony. The only trouble is, when she needs help, she finds it hard to accept it. So while friendship is about giving of ourselves to friends, it's also about accepting what our friends have to offer. Your faithful student, Twilight Sparkle.
And Spike decides to give the audience a little laugh at the end.
Phew! That apple bucking sure made me hungry, and I've got the perfect treat.
Ew! Spike, I threw those away! Where'd you get them?
From the trash.
Ew!
Just a little nibble? Come on!
So, that was Applebuck season. How was it? Don't get me wrong, it's a decent enough character piece, and the lesson about how asking for help is never a bad thing is something many people need to learn, but there are a few things in it that just bug me. First and foremost is the fact that Twilight is the only pony making any effort to help Applejack. The other five really don't seem to care, even after AJ's exhaustion affects them personally. You'd think the other four would at least stop by the first time to offer help. I give episodes like this a pass mainly because they're early on in the show. It's a typical rule of mine to give the first season the best chance, primarily because the show creators are still figuring out their general identity and the specific identities of their characters. Even characters like the main six, who had so much love and care put into their creation, have their stumbling blocks to overcome. So don't expect too harsh a review from me in this first season especially. Until the next episode, I'm Fauna Joy, taking off the hat. An unknown amount of time later, Rainbow is... That way you have your body or vehicle under enough control that you don't... An unknown amount of time later, Rainbow is impatiently waiting for AJ, who's late again, having fallen asleep on her hooves, and I said that weird. She finally hits the mark, but Rainbow wasn't ready, so instead of performing amazing flying feats, she ran... They pass out the muffin samples, and the expected result ensues.